Big Brain Golf Show.
So, good evening and welcome to the Big Brain Golf Show. My name is Eric Red. I'll be your host, moderator, and enforcer if any of these guys get out of line. The goal of the show is to provide you, our viewers, with rare access and insight into the brightest minds and talents in the game of golf. Each episode will focus on a different topic, some somewhat similar, others may be quite complicated, but with our group of big brain professionals here, I'm sure everyone will find out the best way to fix these faults. Tonight's topic is going to focus on being out of sync and how to get your swing back into sequence. So as we begin tonight's conversation, I'd like to introduce you to our panel. On my right, Mr. Chris Walkie. Chris has over 30 years of experience teaching. He's ranked as one of the top professionals in the country. He's been fortunate to work with a number of PGA and LPGA Tour players, and he's the inventor of the Power Package training aid. And if any of you really want to learn how to hit a driver off the deck, he's your guy. Sitting next to him is Trevor Durheim. Trevor has 25 years teaching experience and primarily has been influenced by David Ledbetter. Trevor's worked with, again, like Chris, many PGA and LPGA Tour professionals. And our third instructor, Mr. Tony Greco, the Director of Instruction at Bear Creek Golf Club in Murrieta, California. Tony's worked with Tom Pernice Jr., a member of the PGA Tour Champions, and a new up-and-coming professional on the Corn Ferry Tour, Mr. Brent Grant, along with many junior and collegiate players. So together, these three gentlemen provide a terrific panel for tonight's discussion.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Tonight's guest student is Maddie from Ohio. Maddie's been playing golf for 5 years and has a handicap of an 8. She's a great athlete and extremely flexible, and her preferred shot shape is a draw. Her most typical missed shot is either on the toe, or she tends to miss a little bit to the right, and like everyone else, she dreams of more consistency and would like to be able to hit the ball off the center of the club face.
So what's the one, if you looked at her swing and said, well, what's one thing you really like about it, what would you say?
Well, she's got a great path. Obviously, she knows how to route the club from the inside, right?
Yeah, it shows nicely. She looks like she has some speed.
Yep.
I would say she has speed.
But if you look at her top of her backswing, what I would say, she's got really good structure. She's got
really
very good
good
structure. The
club
club
face.
face is very square, right?
Club face is good.
So if you take, that's rare with a lot of people, right?
Yes.
So you can take this golf swing, sequence it out. She doesn't have a bunch of funk, to the club going around, right? Yeah, there's nothing weird going on.
Don't have
So
a lot of roll
you
on her
definitely
face.
could change.
Right.
Her structure is really good.
I think the audience understands, the club head travels the furthest, and it travels probably from the bottom to the top of the backswing 12 feet.
Yep.
Okay. The hand path is probably, the hands travel 6 feet, and the chest or their shoulder turn goes about 12 inches, and the hips go 6 inches.
Yep.
And if you look at her swing, you would see that, I kind of disagree a little bit that the posture isn't an influence here, because when I see her, she's kind of sitting back on her heels, right? Which kind of gets, as she starts back, this right hip starts going very early. And if you look from face on, by the time her arms are almost halfway back, she's fully turned in her body, right? And the club tends to run on, and then her legs jump forward and her arms get kind of stuck behind her. So, in my view, it means the posture had more of a look of, her rear end a little bit more in, kind of over her heels, a little more pressure kind of in towards the balls of the feet. That's going to stabilize her legs and actually be able to create some speed to get this to travel faster and her body not to travel quite as fast at the start there. Trevor hit on the fact that, the right hip kind of peels back, right? She doesn't probably have enough pressure shift into the right at the beginning of the swing.
Sure.
You agree with that? I mean, she needs to have a little bit of, she starts it back. There should be a pressure shift into the right. At the same time, obviously, the left shoulder is going down and the club's traveling faster up here. So halfway back, she shouldn't have quite as much turn here. A little more pressure forward in the right hip. And then from here, everything can start to wind together. And all of a sudden, that's going to allow the pressure shift back down. The arm's going to get back down in front of the body here better and get her back at impact where she's not quite so far up and underneath. Because the big thing I didn't like is, coming down, her arms are so trapped behind her this way, and that club is exiting kind of up in this direction. And she might hit it fairly solid with a driver. I don't think she could hit irons as solid as she would want to compress it.
You should just do this by yourself. That's good.
No, yeah, you're pretty good. But okay, so let me see the club real quick. So, but as well, she's a softball player, right? So
Right.
You could work some. I think her posture definitely, the lines could be a little bit better. But at the same time, if she is somebody that wants to turn or likes to spin, right? You don't think you could get somebody to kind of, get into these positions and maybe they don't create any power. I think the angles that she's turning are kind of the problem.
Yep.
So to me, her left hip kind of rides outward, right? Her right hip rides this direction. She kind of looks this direction. So everything's kind of wound that way. If she felt like she was working more down and in with her left hip going this direction, her right butt cheek going more that way, she would actually have some depth.
But is she
But
is she bouncing out of her posture from being on the heels, bouncing forward?
Could be, but if you took her and said, okay, well, you look to be bouncing that direction, right? I think if you moved her back, actually started to move her left hip more inward and down, her arms would travel more up, and then she could actually feel like she worked back in the posture.
But for that left hip working in and down, she's got to have more pressure moving to the right for that to move down and in, which lowers the left side down, and it.
You would have to do some drills where she started to say, okay, get that to work first, hold a little bit, and then start to work down on it.
Right.
Or
Or
you work.
Or you could just say, you can probably match. The early turn and in the early completion, sends the whole thing out of whack. Because the body's going to get to the top. It's not going to wait forever, right? She's trying to find a way to get some energy going the other direction, right? Which gets her pretty out of sequence.
Power package would be good for her.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Really would.
Yeah.
Because and you could do some drills with her as well, where I know you do a lot of split stance drills, but her right leg forward,
Right.
Learning how to get the club swinging a little bit,
Right.
and then she could start to load that direction.
Right. But I think we're on the same page with
Start,
that,
for sure.
that left, like you said, the left hip's got to work more
It's got
inward.
not
Inward,
yes.
but that's, obviously as that hip's pulling back, I think she's on her heels, that's kind of kicking back and out, so.
So she got a reverse weight shift?
Lower half.
Reverse lower half probably.
If
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of people that have a reverse
I mean,
pivot. I mean, how do you
it
identify that and how do you get out of that? I mean, is that one of the primary problems with this golf swing or challenges with this swing, or is it,
I think so.
a byproduct of setup and?
Well, it's all byproduct of something, right?
I think it
comes
starts
from
with the
somewhere,
setup, and there's no pressure shift into the right.
Right.
So, she'd be a good candidate, hit some balls with her, kind of stepping back and loading and stepping this way where she's got some more dynamics in her legs.
Not to interrupt, but this is why you interview a player, right? And we look at her bio and it says softball player, right? So immediately I would try to, liken it to softball. What would you do if you were loading up to hit something? She would probably go like this, and she would go she would go into that, then she would load, and then she would fire, right?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Depending if she was a pitcher or they pitch underhand, but if she was a fielder, how would you turn to? You would load, you would turn, you would step, you would throw.
Yeah, so what
Right.
you're saying there is that, baseball players, they're kind of facing the pitcher, right? Well, they're loaded here, right? Her backswing almost makes you feel like she's facing this direction and then starting to complete the backswing later.
That makes sense.
She's just committed. She's just committed early with her turn,
And then just starts to lose posture, continues to lose posture, and the arms are just.
I think along with, understanding her sequence, she needs probably a little bit more stability in her legs.
Right.
She creates that pressure, her legs kind of hold, and as she pressure shifts coming down, she's got some stability in her legs versus them kind of crunching together.
Can you think of a player, an example of just a beautiful, effortless sequential golf swing? Can you think of one?
Adam Scott.
Scott.
Sure, anyone that looks good
Beautiful
doing
model,
it, yeah. Even Daly, as long as he swings with it, has brilliant sequence for his golf swing, right?
Because there's so many guys that get,
But then there's a pattern like Daly that you wouldn't turn because he early turns, it gets around him behind him, and it gets a little across the line.
Yeah.
It just is
But he
super
waits for
athletic.
He
He's
times
super
it out.
athletic. He's done
Yeah.
it forever. He's
Yeah.
timed it
Yeah,
out.
he's got good
That's
timing,
just-
and
yeah.
you know, he matches everything up at the bottom. I mean, that's where it counts.
I mean, it's
right?
hard to really see the sequence when you're swinging at it 125 miles an hour,
Right.
as hard as these guys are hitting it these days, right? But even a guy like Bryson,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some unbelievable sequence in there, as big and powerful and as strong and as hard as he's hitting it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That one, and I tell my students all the time, awesome to watch Bryson, right, getting these speeds, but at the same time, this guy was an unbelievably skilled player before he started doing this
Right.
stuff.
For sure.
Right.
He was a U.S. Amateur champion.
Right.
He was laser-like with his irons.
Right.
He had a control game.
He knows where the center of the face is.
Right.
Yeah.
And his skill level
Right.
for hitting a golf
Off the
shot
charts.
off the charts. So
Yeah.
I always, hey, take it easy a little bit. You haven't quite achieved that with.
You started to hit on it, Tony, that, you know, that right foot, you know, if you're going to start her out, kind of give her a little, like, small way to start,
Mhm.
you know, maybe some half swings, you know, starting with this left foot pulled back, right?
Yep.
So all of a sudden, this side's kind of
Holding.
staying in the way and kind of holding. She understands what the pressure in this side feels like, right? And
Yep.
she doesn't open up to the left or this direction going forward, so all of a sudden she could feel like, hey, I'm rotating through, my exit's more off to the left, and just without going crazy and trying to do a whole bunch of stuff,
Correct.
just kind of start her with that. Hey, what does
Yeah.
that feel like? And then kind of build yourself off of that.
Right.
Without tearing her
Well,
apart, just
No,
understand what that
absolutely.
kind
She's
of
got a
feels
great
like.
golf swing. I mean,
For
she's
sure.
really got it. I mean, she does a lot of things really, really good. If she could get it matched up better, I think she would hit it more solid, further, straighter, everything that's good.
If you want to look at it another way, you would say, you know, she's got all this rotation going back, right?
Yep.
So she's got a big backswing over here, right?
Yeah.
But she's got zero going
Correct.
forward. So
So
it's
she
like
doesn't-
it's almost like less going back and more going forward. That's
she's-
another way to put
She's
it.
reverse it a little bit, right?
Reverse it, yes.
You know, it's always the opposite, right?
Yeah.
It's always the
Right
opposite.
side stays more forward, left side clears more coming down. So there's 100 ways to explain it, and
You know.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly,
so
yeah.
so
Well, and to touch on this too, I find with a lot of my junior girls, they've got really fast bodies, very limber bodies, and they're really they're slowish in their arm. Women have just as fast hips as men do, but men have stronger arms and stronger hands, right? So, you know, with my junior girls, I like to do a lot of stuff where they learn how to swing their arms a little bit faster to kind of catch with their bodies.
Arms
Right.
and chest. or
Arms
just
and chest.
Arms
Hey,
and
it's
chest.
got arms and chest. I mean, if you're swinging that club and using your arms, your chest is coming.
yeah, sure it is. The
Right.
lower body's stabilizing.
Lower
a little
body
bit.
stabilizing,
Yeah, for
you do a lot of that stuff.
I mean,
sure.
sometimes
Even
you
as
can
hit
see
balls
one
at her feet
really-
together, just
Feet
get
together,
get some
and then all of a
speed,
sudden
get
it
some
looks
speed.
it looks synced up.
Seeked up, yeah.
Right.
let's try to summarize the all this great information that we've come up with, and let's look at it a short term vision and then a longer term plan. What do you think?
I just gave the short-term plan a minute ago.
I think so. I mean,
Right side forward,
resisting-
Well, I think I get her understanding. Hey,
Drills,
it's
drills.
not so round around the corner, you know, and then she can open up more coming through. She's going to get her low spot's going to get more up to the golf ball, right? I think she's got more face control. She understands that without going crazy, right? A little bit of understanding, and
Right.
that may start work its way in.
Yeah, because the face is good, the path's good. So if she could resist the lower body a little bit,
Yeah.
Right.
maybe even make some swings with the right toe toed in, so she
For
can't
sure.
turn that right hip out of the way as much in the backswing. You know,
Okay.
feel like she's getting to her right side, then she can fire towards the target and turn through it. It might feel like a quarter swing to her. It'll feel like a
Okay.
quarter swing to her,
Right.
in my opinion.
Long term, the only way things get changed is by slow motion drills.
Yeah.
It's the only way big changes are made. You can go long term. There's just no way around it.
It's got to take mirror work at home, drills at home.
Correct.
And people understand too, if you're going to make a change in your golf swing, you can't make a change going full speed.
No,
No.
it's impossible.
I mean, you got to start out 30%, feeling it, understanding it, and then you can kind of ramp up the speed. As soon as it falls apart, go back slower again.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
Sure.
Freezers up to the top. Learn how to kind of sequence it, hold it, wind it up there, hold it, right, and then let it go. Those kind of things work.
All right. So I think we came up with a good plan for her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Good
So
luck,
until
man.
next time,
Yeah,
we'd
good
like
luck,
to
man.
thank
And
our
thank you.
friends. We'd like to thank our friends at the Club Fix Palm Desert
Thanks,
for
guys.
offering up this great facility for us to have a little discussion. And we'd surely like to thank our golf professionals, Tony Greco, Trevor Durheim, Chris Walkie, the greatest off the deck driver of all time, And thank you to our sponsors,
Like-
59 Belts and the Power
Low keel
Package.
cuts.
And all you at home, make sure you subscribe to our Big Brain Golf Show channel. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Tell all your friends. Come back next time. And until then, use both sides of your brain. Thank you.
Like it.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Jonathan.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you.